this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Saving Souls on Monday, the shoe review channel for the style-conscious man who wants to be a boss on a budget. I shop at thrift stores, I shop at vintage stores, I shop online, and I find the best deals. So subscribe to the channel and follow every Monday for a new review. This week we're talking about one of my favorite boots, the Doc Marten. These are my Doc Marten 1460 originals. Look at that. That's a beautiful boot. These are the nicest Doc Martens on the internet. Let's talk about the company, then we'll get into the shoe. So Doc Martens was started by Dr. Klaus Marten and his buddy. You don't hear much about his buddy, Dr. Herbert Funk. Now, they could have been Dr. Funks. Check out my Dr. Funks. No, they were college buddies. They knew each other for a long time, and I'm sure they sat around with some beers and hashed it out and decided Dr. Marten's brand's better than Dr. Funk. Dr. Klaus Marten started the company in 1947 with his buddy, and they primarily made women's shoes, although he was inspired by a skiing accident that he had where he broke his foot, and he wanted to make an orthopedic shoe that was comfortable. His buddy Herbert Funk was a mechanical engineer, I believe. So they got together and created a pretty interesting shoe. And what they did was they went out to like bombing ranges. This is in Germany. Pretty dangerous, although it's after World War II, 1947. But I could just imagine Dr. Funk and Dr. Marten with their black hoodies on and their earbuds in, jamming to some Rage Against the Machine, trying to get all hyped up to go run out into a military base and basically steal some rubber so they could make some shoes. Well, they were quite successful, and a company in England around 1959, I believe they were called the Griggs Company or Griggs Ltd, they bought all the rights, the design, they bought them out. And I couldn't find out what kind of actual deal they got. It was 1959, so it was a long time ago, but I think they got a pretty good deal. They being Dr. Funk and Dr. Marten. So they got a lump sum when they got bought out by the British company in 1959, 1960. Give them a bunch of cash, but it wasn't just the lump sum, because who knows how much that would have been. Maybe they didn't negotiate well. But they did negotiate for a royalty on every single boot sold. So the Griggs Company in 1960 launched the 1460 original, this boot. And this is a soft toe boot. This isn't the steel toe. You can get them in a steel toe and it's a little bit more bulbous. But this is the original style that they offered. And I love this boot. This boot right here is 20 years old. Let's talk about this boot. I can ramble on more about the history of the company in another video because I have more Doc Martens to talk about, and we will definitely do another Doc Marten video. These things are Goodyear welted, famous for their yellow stitching. These are the ox blood. It has a nice patina. When you buy a pair of brand new Doc Marten 1460s, they may not look like this because this is a 20-year-old boot. I bought this in 2004. I've worn this every single day for manual labor. I've owned a motorcycle shop. We do machine work. I've used these through every single hurricane cleanup that we've had. I've done major tree work. I've been up to my knees in mud. And I've told myself as I've trashed these things, I can always buy another pair. They're not really that expensive. And hey, I mean, they not only have lasted, but they're in pretty good darn condition for a boot that I have just tortured, brutalized. So all the criticism about Doc Marten globalizing and sending their manufacturing to Asia and not being very good anymore, it might be true. I'm not going to fight you over that. But I can tell you my personal experience is that this is a pretty good darn boot. It does have this translucent sole, and it's a little bit funky. You can see kind of the egg-shaped little air pockets if you look it over in the bottom. Now, what would you wear with something like this? Because you may watch some Doc Marten videos online and it's going to be a lot of throwbacks to counterculture. And we're not trying to recreate our teenage past. We're gentlemen here. So this is a working class boot, and anybody out there who's on a budget, who's looking for just one boot that you could use for everything, your work boot, your date night boot, your go-to boot, the Doc Marten is a great choice, and it's rather affordable. These kind of boots go for like $180 or something like that, but you could buy them used, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show you these boots, is because this is what they look like, very, very, very used, and that's a beautiful boot. These are some of my favorite boots. I love them. And you could buy these on eBay. You can buy them at thrift stores. Keep your eyes open for some Doc Martens, and they'll already be worn in. Now, when we're picking a couple outfits, because let's talk about what we'd wear. And I'm not giving you outfits to wear to your festival, your concert. Let's just do some classy, casual, around town outfits. Let's start with just some slightly distressed quality Levi's blue jeans. And like I tell you, with everything, make sure your pants fit. And the way that the pants fit on a boot like this is important. You want to expose a little bit of the shaft of the boot because it's just a cool boot. You don't want your pants to bury this beautiful boot. So you could roll your cuff up, and that's what guys used to do back in the old days in the 80s when I was young. They'd roll their cuffs up and show off their beautiful boots. So you got just some basic blue jeans. Everybody's got blue jeans. I love them. And you're just going to cruise around for the day. Polo shirt, tuck it in. Make sure you tuck it in. Match your leathers. Get a belt that is similar in neighborhood as far as color. And you got your polo shirt and your awesome blue jeans. Now, you're going to go out later. You come home, you freshen up, you wash up, maybe you throw on some Polo cologne, the Polo green. It's all the way at the top of the shelf, so I'm not going to go and grab it, but you old school guys like me, you know Polo green. I love it. You young guys might not vibe on it so much, so you may want to choose something a little bit more current, like your Dior Sauvage. I love that stuff too, but let's go with some Polo green for our polo shirt, and then I'm going to grab an unstructured polo sport coat that has a wool tweed fabric, and this has 3 buttons, which is kind of an old school vibe. And what we're going for with this outfit, it's a great outfit, is that countryside heritage kind of look. The rural working man who can not be afraid to get dirty with his working man's boots, but then he might go out to the pub later. And of course you can add your super cool cap to that outfit and look great. Maybe you put a pocket square in there. Now, let's end this video off with a style tip. I like to lace you guys up with some game, some style tips for you. So this is really easy. Let's talk about the pocket square. You may have got into sport coats like I have. I love sport coats. I have an entire closet full of them. And one way to class up your sport coat, if you're ready to level up in that way, to have a little bit of flair, a little bit of attitude, to show off a little bit of style, that little inner dandy, is the pocket square. You've seen guys put pocket squares. So let me show you. I could do a whole video about pocket squares. Maybe we have to at some point. This is just part of my collection. This thing is actually pretty helpful, and it goes in your pocket. You floss the pocket square through it. I'm not going to bother doing it for you, but you kind of understand. However you want. There's many ways that you can fold it. You can just smash it through it, unfold it, and just have it be unstructured. And then you put that in the pocket of the sport coat, and it just keeps it there so the pocket square doesn't fall down. But I have a whole box full of different colors. And the beauty of the pocket square is it doesn't really have to match much. In fact, if it matches nothing in your outfit, that's perfectly fine. And that's like the quiet luxury, the countryside heritage kind of way to do it. Let me put this back. So, one last look before we go. Look at this boot. That's the most beautiful Doc Marten you're going to see anywhere online. The 1460. Go get you a pair. Thanks for watching.